Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. How are we all? I hope everyone's doing okay and staying warm. Do you know, I felt like it was getting a little bit warmer today and now it's dropped again. You can't win.
No.
But yeah, thank you everyone for being here. We'll just give people a moment while we gradually let people in. Just to forewarn everyone, as you join in, this session is recorded. So I think it is automatically kind of turning your cameras off and muting you as you join, just so that you don't join and feel exposed or anything like that, because it is being recorded. However, please feel free to use the chat and interact. It is a bit more of a interactive session today, like it is a bit more of a discussion. So please feel free to use the chat and stuff as we go along. But yeah, welcome to everybody who has joined us this afternoon, this lovely afternoon. So this session is forming this, well, it's the second of a series of 4, if I put my teeth in, webinars that we're doing in joint collaboration. So with myself from PMAC and with Nigel here from ECS.
Good afternoon, everybody.
So we have put this series together specifically for people working in the automotive industry to hopefully give people some skills and some understanding, hopefully to make, changes to help improve mental health and well-being overall. But specifically today and the last session, which was about preventing stress for anyone who missed that, and that is recorded, so you can catch it again anyway. We're thinking much more about helping to prepare for this really busy registration period in March. So as we said, the last session was recorded, so you can access that and the slides. Today's session is also recorded, so feel free to share. But today we're essentially thinking about unwinding after a really busy and potentially overstimulating day at work, and thinking about, barriers to getting a good night's sleep when you do work in this industry, and thinking about improving sleep. So when we're thinking about sleep, often is kind of thought of as almost like a luxury or something that people have to earn. There's so many things that get in the way of like a decent night's sleep, even just knowing, particularly if things are really busy and hectic, like sometimes we almost don't want to go to bed because it means that tomorrow's kind of coming around again and it feels like I've not done as much for myself today as what I would have liked in an ideal world, or I've not had the energy to do it. But sleep, unfortunately, is an absolute non-negotiable for our health, like mental and physical. Like it is extremely difficult to manage day-to-day stresses, let alone like big stresses, like again having this massive influx of work because of the registration period, like during March. But just even day to day, if you have one poor night's sleep, that impacts how resilient you are the next day, how well you think. If you consistently struggle with sleep, you're more likely to end up with colds and flus, which again is going to impact your energy levels and your mood. Like it's very what we call like bi-directional. So our health impacts our sleep and our sleep impacts our health. And not getting enough sleep is, like having a vehicle that is running very low on fuel. Like it's going to make it very difficult to do much and to do much the way you want to, essentially. So like I mentioned, like sleep, it's very much like a two-way relationship with our health, like mental health, physical health. When we sleep, we kind of consolidate everything that happened in the day and it helps to form memories. So when you're not sleeping well, it makes it much more difficult to remember day to day the things that you needed to do, remembering how things went yesterday, remembering why you've just walked into this room, for example, like when we're really tired. Yeah, you walk in, you've got something in your hand, you don't know why you're there, how you got there, what you're meant to be doing next. It impacts your immune system. So like, for example, if you've got the flu or COVID as it's going around again at the moment, that might make you exhausted, it might make you sleep more. But then also if you've got a chesty cough, that might flare up when you lie down, it makes it difficult to sleep. Also, it impacts your mental health. So like if you've got loads of worries at night, it might be more difficult to fall asleep, but then also being exhausted just makes us think more and makes us worry more and makes us stress more. If you feel sad or low, that might make you exhausted all of the time, but then sleeping all the time feels like, that's all you're doing now and life feels less enjoyable. So it's absolutely, like I said, like non-negotiable if we want to, do as well as we possibly can, and to feel like we are performing at our absolute best. And yeah, it's going to be especially important to be aware of this and try to, just even over the next week or two, try and create better habits around sleep, in preparation for March, rather than kind of waiting until your sleep's suffering and then trying to undo it, which is way more difficult. But sleep is impacted from the minute we wake up. Often people talk about, like not going on your phone for half an hour before you go to sleep. And so we kind of think about sleep as this thing that comes last, and we just think about what we do, almost like the immediacy before we want to sleep. But actually it's impacted by a whole host of things. So what kind of things do we think might impact sleep? If people want to use the chat function, Nigel, also if you want to share your insights, we kind of can't get this wrong, because your experience of things that impact you, is your experience.
Yeah, certainly. If I've lack of sleep the night before, I tend to be a lot slower with reacting to certain things during the next day. It takes me longer to try and get things done. You tend to miss some of the steps that you normally would take. So I find I've got, as long as I get a minimum of 6 hours sleep, I'm fine. Anything less than that, I do notice it the next day, then it causes issues, or can cause issues.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, that's a really important point, actually, because we all need slightly different amounts of sleep. The average, they recommend 7 to 9 hours. But also we all have different, like what's called chronotypes. So some people naturally fall asleep later and will naturally wake up later. Some people naturally fall asleep earlier and wake up earlier. So things like your age impacts your sleep. If anyone's got teenagers at home, like they are not naturally falling asleep at 8:30 and wide awake at 6 a.m. singing with the birds skipping down the road. Like, it's just not going to happen. Whereas when we're, in our older age, actually, that might be more likely to be the case. We fall asleep earlier. We don't need as much sleep. So yeah, what kind of things might impact our sleep? So we might be thinking about things like what time we've got up. If you wake up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you are going to do well to be asleep by 9 o'clock that evening, even if you really need to, because you've got an early start tomorrow. So the things that we do at the weekend, unfortunately, can impact how well we sleep then the rest of the week. How much sunlight we get. We are supposed to be out and about, and that light and dark cycle helps our brains to stimulate something called melatonin that helps us to then feel sleepy. Whether or not you've moved your body all day, the less you physically are active in the day, the more that hyperactive in energy, that hyperactivity and energy that should have been used kind of gets internalized, and you're more likely to find yourself with racing thoughts at night, for example. What you're eating and when. If you're having coffee till 10 o'clock at night with 3 sugars in, as much as you might feel like it doesn't impact you, you're probably not getting as much deep sleep. What you're watching on TV, your health, the time of year. In the winter, I don't know about you, Nigel, I am far sleepier in the winter when it's so dark and cold all the time.
I tend to unfortunately end up watching too much TV in the winter. During the spring and the summer and autumn, I'm doing a lot of DIY work, but you're right. On a night time, once it's dark, you tend to just cuddle up in front of the TV, which is not always good for you.
Yeah, we hibernate. And then temperature as well. Like if it's absolutely boiling, makes it very, very difficult to sleep. One of the things that again helps trigger our brain as opposed to kind of turn off and go to sleep is like a drop in temperature. So things like having a cool room can help. But then also things like if you're in an argument with someone, you've had a really stressful day, you're irritated, you're angry, your age, again, neurodivergence. So people with ADHD, for example, tend to fall asleep on average like 2 hours later than other people. So there can be all sorts of stuff. But what kind of things then stop us getting a good night's sleep, do we think? Nige, again, from your experience also.
Things on your mind that you've not done that day. So that's why I tend to do a list, so then I don't have to worry about it, and that helps me get a better night's sleep. But there'll be things that you've not accomplished that you wanted to do that particular day, especially coming up to the busy periods. So that's one of the biggest things. You're always running it over in your mind.
Yeah, so like unresolved things you've not got done in the day. Yeah, perfect. Alcohol use, yeah. So, I mean, if you're having a vodka Red Bull at, again, 10:30 and hoping to be asleep by 11, again, it's going to take some doing. It really, really is. Screen time, absolutely. If you start scrolling TikTok, Instagram till really, really late, just they are designed to keep you on them, essentially. So by design, they keep you alert. So it will be things like if you're watching telly too late, but also what you're watching. If you're watching, I don't know, Prison Break or Dexter or Line of Duty, whatever you're into, and there's like cliffhangers, it's going to be a lot harder for you to then fall straight asleep after. If you're worrying or stressing, like Nigel mentioned, if you're delaying sleep, you're putting it off because you just want a bit of time for yourself for the evening. Maybe if you've got, for example, young children as well, and you've had a really busy day, going on your phones, other people, you know, like partners that you sleep with, if they're snoring, they thrash about all over the place. If you've got pets coming in, jumping all over your head, trying to find their way in, being hungry, being in physical pain, for example. So there will be things outside of our control that impact how well we sleep, but also there are things that we can do to try and improve sleep. And I love this quote: some people can't sleep because they have insomnia. I can't sleep because I have the internet.
Yeah.
And we can't turn it off.
That's a good one,
yeah. So one thing to know about like worry and stress, which I'm really glad you've already touched on, Nigel, anyway, is like our brains are designed to worry at night. Like we've developed from being cavemen, and we would have been most vulnerable when we're asleep. We're vulnerable to other predators coming in, trying to eat us. We're vulnerable to other tribes coming in and trying to attack us, whatever. So like we are designed to think more at night, and we're more likely to reflect on the day, and particularly think about all the things that didn't go well, that went wrong, anything negative, because our brains don't want us to experience the same thing again tomorrow. So having things on your mind is going to make it more difficult to sleep. And also, again, as I've touched on, if you're not physically active in the day, like any excess energy might then become internalized and your brain might be running and running. And also then if you've had loads of caffeine and sugar, that make your brain, might make your brain run even faster. So it's harder to manage. So what can we do about it? We can think about, first of all, making sure we get some sunlight in the day. So this isn't as effective if you're just stood somewhere with big bright windows. You have to physically be outside for like 10 minutes. So, even if it's just having a little walk around the block as you park the car, or you walk the dog, for example, in the morning, it doesn't really matter. But our brains need that distinct, okay, well, here's some natural sunlight. And then when there's darkness, it makes it more likely that we're going to be able to sleep. We can also think about like our routines. So our brains are very much creatures of habit, and they associate us doing certain things with certain behaviors and certain outcomes. When you put your boots on in the morning, or your overalls, or when you pull up to work and you smell certain smells and hear certain sounds, your brain kind of makes that adjustment and helps you to kind of get into work mode. So actually what we're doing in the morning that helps prepare us for the day, but then also what do we do in the evening to help us unwind, to make it more likely we're going to sleep. Reducing stress from as early in the day as possible is useful. So like thinking about, on an ideal week when you feel great, like what do your mornings look like? Are you having a bit of an earlier start but a slower start to the day then? Is your breakfast already ready? Do you have a certain thing for breakfast? Do you go for a quick walk? Do you listen to music while you have your shower? Like, just what is it? And can we incorporate as many elements of that as possible? The less stressful our mornings are, the less we then go into the rest of the day stress, the less problems we find throughout the day, the better able we feel to handle the stresses of the day. So then when the evening comes, there's less kind of lingering. Trying to be proactive in taking care of worries, and we're going to talk about managing worries in a little bit. But the other important thing is thinking about making sure we're actually unwinding in the evenings and relaxing. Like, a Ferrari that's been going at 100 miles an hour will not come to an immediate start just because you've put the brake on. Like, it needs a bit of time to kind of come to a gradual halt, or you're going to go flying out the window. And it, even if you put the handbrake on, I'm sure it's not going to stop literally there and then to that second without going a few meters. And we're the same. If you've been going and going and going and going all day, we're not going to be able to just stop just because we're in bed and I need to be asleep now. So What kind of things do people typically do to unwind in the evenings? I mean, I know, I can be partial to a bit of snacking. I think many of us probably do sit in front of the telly for a little bit. Is there anything in particular that you do, Nigel, to unwind in the evenings?
Unfortunately, I have a bad habit of making sure I've watched the evening news before I go to bed. That's not always
do
a
you?
good thing. Yeah. So I watch that and the local news because I'm away a lot. So when I'm in the hotel, it's nice to know what the local news is around, but always the national news as well. And that's not always good. So you start thinking about stuff and the things that are on there, and then I'd look at my phone to read more detail on some of the stories that have been going on, and then your mind's active again.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the whole point of this webinar today is not about like criticizing people or telling you shouldn't do this or you should do that, but just to like make people a bit more aware of the unintended consequences of our habits, as well as just so that we can have a think about, actually, does this work for me? And if not, we can bring along some suggestions of other things that might be useful as well. So lots of people watching the news. Other people might read a book, they might listen to podcasts, they might do some creative stuff, they might have a drink, for example. But just be mindful that all the things that we do have intended and unintended consequences. So the things that happen, like having a beer while you watch the telly or sitting on your phone might make you feel relaxed for a period of time, but actually, like, your telly and your phone, what you're looking at might wake you up. Your alcohol might stop you falling, getting such deep sleep. If you're having loads of salty snacks, you're having loads of nuts before bed, you might then wake up thirsty, or you wake up needing the toilet because then you've just guzzled 3 pints of water or something with it, as well as. So just being mindful. And then thinking about, actually, are there maybe other things that I can think about trying? And open-mindedness for your resilience and your mental health is so important, and not assuming that you already know everything there is to know about yourself and what will or won't work for you. Because actually there are loads of ways that we can practice unwinding and relaxing, and it might take a bit of trial and error to find the things that work for you, but that's also okay. So in terms of like things that we can do to like consciously help us unwind, it might be listening to music, it might be listening to podcasts or audiobooks instead of sitting reading if you struggle to focus or you struggle with reading. It can be doing things like puzzles. I know Lego seems to be getting really popular now. All of my partner's family all seem to be doing Lego in the evening, particularly all the men. I think it also, unlocks your inner child a little bit. So like doing little tasks, little puzzles can help. Also things like having a bath or shower can be really useful in the evening, because then when you get out and your body temperature drops, it makes you feel a bit sleepy. Going for a walk is something I started doing recently, I think because there'd been a couple of days of just non-stop working and feel like, actually, I've not had a minute to just do anything for myself. So just kind of pushing myself to go outside just for 10 minutes, even though it's dark. Actually, then it just helps to really process the day. It's dark, it's cold. By the time I get home, I felt quite sleepy. So that's been a nice little change actually recently. Stretching, particularly if you've been physically active all day, going to bed with loads of aches and pains, it's going to be quite difficult to feel relaxed and like ready for sleep. So just kind of doing a few little stretches can be useful. And having things like a warm drink can be nice. Milky drinks are always popular. Or even like, just your last brew of the day, you just switch to like a decaf coffee or a decaf tea. That you take to bed with you. And starchy food can be really good. So like, I don't know if anyone else, after you have like a butty at lunch or after your Christmas dinner, you find yourself feeling sleepy. It's because it takes so much energy for your body to digest things like bread. So having like a bit of starchy food, having a bit of toast before bed can help to just speed up that process of getting sleepy. Now, why might it be difficult to unwind and to relax and then ultimately to sleep after a day working in the very busy automotive industry? What kind of things do we think will get in the way of that? And again, Nigel, your experience here will be very, very much valued.
Yeah, a lot of it is, excuse me, like I said earlier, is that many of the time you're not getting everything done that you want to get done in the day. There's only so many hours. You're always getting people coming to you with various issues and it needs sorting. But the way I find I do it is I try and prioritise it. I make a note then in the diary so I try not to think of it too much at night, because I know that next morning I've got a list of things to do first before I do anything else.
Yeah.
And that's helped me recently to try and improve things.
Yeah, and this is the thing as well, like a lot of the things that we think about last thing at night aren't things that we can do anything about in that moment. And almost we go over and over it because we worry about forgetting the thing and not doing it tomorrow. But actually making a list, like Nigel said, like at the end of the day for tomorrow, almost kind of helps improve that separation, because everything's kind of taken care of. You don't need to worry about it. You can prioritize things, or you can prioritize things in the morning when you come in, but that can help just feeling like actually it doesn't necessarily matter that not everything's been taken care of today, because I've taken care of it as much as I can, you know, right now, and then tomorrow's another opportunity. Yeah, there can be loads of things like, you know, it can be quite an overstimulating environment depending on where you're working. If there's loads of noise all day, banging, drills going, like, you know, just all sorts of noise, strong smells, the lighting can be quite harsh, particularly, you know, when I'm thinking about going into a showroom, like, it can give you a headache.
It can.
Yeah, absolutely. Even like nice smells, like air fresheners everywhere, like customers' strong perfumes, for example, if you're in a customer facing role, the fact that you're dealing with people all day, and people who might be stressed and demanding and wanting their stuff now. You might also be dealing with other colleagues who are stressed, for example, and that stress can kind of become a bit contagious. It might be because there's so much to remember and you're having to pay so much attention to details. Like if you're a technician, like the amount of things that you must have to remember to do them properly, and the checks that you have to do, it takes a hell of a lot of like mental energy, and our brains use more energy than, you know, almost like the rest of our organs put together. It's exhausting, and we can feel like physically really run down when we're mentally kind of at, you know, at capacity. If you've been running on adrenaline all day and caffeine and sugar to keep going, that's going to make it really difficult then to just suddenly feel really chilled and relaxed just because you're home. And again, if you're moving all day, those aches and pains might build, particularly if it feels relentless like it might do in March. So what can we do? So like Nigel's just touched on, actually end the day with tomorrow's to-do list, like get things done and out the way. Also, if it's been really stressful, like leave a note somewhere of the things that you did well, despite the fact it was really busy. Because when we've had a really difficult day, for example, we tend the next day to kind of carry some of those things, like they kind of linger, and then you go into that day feeling a bit exhausted or cynical, or you're already worrying. So actually just leaving a little note somewhere that you would find it, whether it's in an email or on your phone or in a drawer that you'll go in, it can just be a nice little kind of pick me up and a bit of reassurance. And when you get home, like create that separation. Again, our brains work by association. So get changed, like have a shower, wash away the day, put on different clothes. Don't be sat on the sofa in the same dirty clothes that maybe have grease in, that you know, that still smell like work. Get a change of scenery. Again, get those 10 minutes when you get home. Try to actually relax your muscles a little bit if that's going to be a problem, like having a bath, having a swim even, that can be really relaxing. It can be really quite soothing, actually, swimming. It can really help calm us down. But yeah, just try and create that separation. If you're struggling to stop thinking about work, maybe if things did go wrong, like have a conversation with someone else about something else that you find interesting, that's going to grab your attention at some point. Do a puzzle, as we've spoken about, like do something that is going to grab your attention, rather than sitting on your phone and potentially looking at videos that are about cars and about mechanics and all those sorts of things that you might be interested in, but now it's just reminding you of more things to do with work, for example. So it might be thinking about having a bit of quiet time when you get in, for even just 10 minutes, even if it's just sitting in the car for 10 minutes, just in the quiet, just while you kind of decompress. That transition time can be useful. Change the temperature. So if you've been boiling all day, can you get home and like try and cool off and have like a bit of a cool shower? If you've been freezing all day, can you get really wrapped up so you feel cozy and warm? Like trying to create like the opposite to the environment you've been in all day. And assuming that you've done all these things in the day, you've got up at a normal time, a regular time, you've boxed off work, you've, you know, all those sorts of things. What else can we do to improve sleep? So first things first, I suppose, if you're noticing, again, particularly towards the end of March and you're exhausted, you're falling asleep on the sofa, rather than, oh, kind of succumbing to it and just getting settled, at that point, get up and move and get ready for bed. To be honest, by the time you then get to bed, you probably feel a bit more awake. But then you can actually relax and unwind, rather than, I've kind of fallen asleep, I've had a bit of a sleep cycle, I've woke up, now I'm annoyed and tired, and it's going to take even more energy to go and do these things. Try and start making your home room a bit cooler, like just open the windows a bit, turn the radiators down a little bit so it is a little bit colder. Don't have all the big lights on for like an hour before bed, like just use lamps or those little night lights that you can have. If you can avoid screens for a little bit of time, but we're so used to being so stimulated all the time, you might then feel a bit agitated. So can you have something else on in the background, like the radio, like sleep stories? You can get them now, even if you've got a telly in your room. I'm pretty sure Netflix have like sleep stories on there from Headspace you can listen to. Stick on some white noise, whatever, you know, helps keep your mind busy enough, but doesn't kind of keep you waking up, I suppose. Try not to have caffeine too late. Swap, you know, literally just like for the last hour, half an hour before you go to bed, rather than one last whiskey, just have like a glass of milk or something different, for example. And again, we're not here to criticize or judge or shame, just there are options if it's not working for you anymore and you don't feel rested. Like if you don't consistently feel rested after you sleep, there's a good chance we need to change something. And manage your worries. So like keep the notepad by the bed, write down anything you actually do need to remember that's not been taken care of. And then after that, it's not for now. Like there's nothing you can do about it now. So we can almost like talk to our worries like it's a child that you've got who's trying to convince you that they have to stay up because they have to do this thing, we have to do that now. Like actually there's nothing to be done like right now other than just relax. And we can also practice things like mindfulness, body scans, muscle relaxation. There's loads and loads and loads of free versions on YouTube. Ideally try them when you're not trying to fall asleep, so you're not sat on your phone looking for them. But if you can't sleep, hey, don't check the clock. Don't then be thinking about how little sleep you're going to get, what time it is, what time you need to get up. Ideally, don't be going on your phone either, but get up. Like get up, go to the toilet, go to the kitchen to get a snack or a drink or to put something in the washing machine. It doesn't really matter what you're doing. If you're getting up and actually it's dark and it's quiet because everyone else is trying to sleep, your brain soon starts getting the signal that actually it's time to sleep and it will start making you more sleepy. Aim to just relax. Like if you are lying there trying to sleep and you're getting stressed about how you're not going to sleep, you're now waking yourself back up from the stress. Whereas actually if we just aim to relax, we're more likely to fall asleep without meaning to. And we can also do things like, rather than kind of counting sheep as people used to talk about, like imagine yourself doing something that's kind of boring that you would do day in, day out, that you know inside and out, like taking a walk to your local park or to the local shop, and just imagine every detail, because it's going to be so insignificant and boring to your brain that, again, just doing that and doing it slowly can help to send you to sleep. The sleep is very much like a cat. It'll only come to us when we ignore it. So thinking about sleep, last time we mentioned like processes, accountability and communication. So look at your habits and how the things that you do more often than not are impacting your rest and your sleep. Hold yourself accountable to do what you can. Like there will be lots of things outside your control, like we said, next door's baby, the dog, the cat, the partner snoring, and there will still be things that we can do to stack the odds in our favour and make it more likely we'll sleep. And then sleep, again, if we're not sleeping properly, it will impact your mood, which will impact your stress levels. So just be honest about things. If you can avoid going to bed on an argument, or at the very least just pause things and just focus on like calming yourselves down rather than trying to go to bed raging, and try to be honest with yourself. And yeah, just finishing on a quote, don't give up on your dreams so soon, sleep longer where we can. So thank you, Nigel, first of all, for being here and for all your input, putting all this together and your insight, your examples. Thank you to everyone who made it here. As we said, this is recorded, so you know you can watch this back afterwards, and you can send it to people if you feel like it's going to be useful. You can also have copies of the slides. But yeah, you deserve to sleep and sleep well, and it can make life easier, and we tend to underestimate how much of a positive impact sleep can have. And when things feel really difficult, again, we can underestimate how much of a benefit it could be prioritizing sleep again. But yeah, hopefully this has been useful, and we hope that you managed to sleep slightly better throughout March and feel less impacted and exhausted and run down by the end of it as a result. But yeah, just thank you.
Thank you very much, Hayley. That was brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Cheers.
Yeah, if anyone's got any questions, I'll hang around for a moment or two. But other than that, like I said, we'll send all this stuff over afterwards. And yeah, we're just really, really grateful for you being here. Thank you so much, and take care and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye now.
Bye for now. Bye.
Bye-bye.